as if trying to exert strength. Very quickly from the middle of the robot's chest. Red light shot straight at Jiang-tu lying in a heap on the ground before Lan Kai's horrified eyes. This shot was like the final blow to kill the unfortunate. Zombie signs, light poles, and nearby buildings were also involved. The robot breathed tiredly, panting, wondering if he was dead this time. Although that blow was strong, it also exhausted his strength. But Jiang-tu was not dead yet. He walked out from the smoke, making the group leader surprised and speechless. The ragged Zhang Si roared, dispelling the smoke immediately. The roar was like a storm, causing Lan Ky and his assistant to cover their faces as much as possible to stand. The robot held its head in pain. What was that sound? Suddenly he stopped and saw Jiang-tu's hair growing out. His eyes were bloodshot and angry. His whole body radiated murderous aura. Is it just time for this guy's performance? What happened? Lan Ky and his assistant I followed along haphazardly but was led from one surprise to another. Jiang-tu's hair grew rapidly. His murderous eyes looked at the robot, making him start to feel scared, trembling and asking, "What is it?" Even though Jiang-tu transformed, the male lead's bright aura made him look 10 points more handsome. No longer naive and innocent, but suddenly different with his hair. The rain has stopped completely but the sky is still gray. Jiang-tu still stood motionless at the place where he transformed. The sky is strangely rumbling like a cosmic black hole appearing to suck everything inside. Anyone standing under the sky could see this strange scene. And Hugh did not understand what was happening, panicked and called everyone to quickly look over there. What's wrong with the sky? Lan Ky and his assistant witnessed this scene for the first time and were extremely shocked. People in the city also began to pay attention to the strange phenomenon. Everyone was shocked without a solution. It's the first time I've seen clouds with that shape. In the suburbs, the group leader and Jiang-tu remained in the same position, looking at each other shyly and saying nothing. Zhang Si gritted his teeth and spoke first. "And damn you, I gave you a chance to negotiate before." The robot shouted loudly when realizing that his tone had changed. Zhang Si didn't care anymore. He smiled mischievously. "Now tell me, how do you want to die?" Not to mention his appearance. Even his naive personality has changed into a cruel male protagonist. Lan Ky and his assistant saw this and told each other to quickly run away, saying that made them both quickly get out of the roof. I had been waiting for a while, staying to wait for death without a place to bury. There are robots who don't know what fear is. Even when I'm this old, I've never had anything that makes me afraid of death. What the hell are you? A strong opponent only makes the leader of this mechanical life group even more excited. He laughed loudly as if he were very happy. Ha ha ha. Zombies, let's fight back. Lan Ky and his assistant ran at full speed through the buildings to escape. Still wondering what happened just now. I read all the history books in the library and this is the first time I've seen a zombie of this kind. Lan Ky is the same. There's no difference. Asking each other if running here is safe enough. Suddenly, a beam of light flashed past, causing the two of them to jump away. Luckily, both grandparents were still bewildered. "Mom, it's already going to a new area. That streak of light isn't a move. It's the group leader who was flattened against the wall like a cockroach with his 4 senses broken." Zhang Si stood in front of the robot, not paying attention to the 2 flies buzzing on the other side. The group leader still hadn't given up. He tried to awkwardly call robots number 2, number 3, and number 4 over. Now even if he called 1,000 robots, Jiang Si wouldn't even bother to raise an eyebrow. He waved his hand and sent all of the group leader's subordinates calling. Lan Ky and his assistant ran forever but were still within the range of influence. Both of them rolled right next to the group leader, coughing as the smoke blew into their faces. At this point, the group leader now discovered that Lan Ky had followed him. He tried to shy away from her that everyone was responsible for dealing with zombies. Seeing that the group leader was seriously injured but still wanted to involve others, Lan Ky wished he could destroy this guy. "It's your head that you poked first and this happened." Even after cursing harshly, Lan Ky could no longer leave and coordinated with the other two people to rush out in 3 different directions to escape. Jong Tu stood there watching them leave, then flexed his hands, lowered his body, and prepared to launch a new move. Lan Ky had a bad feeling from afar. As soon as he turned around and looked back, he saw the zombie taciturnly punching a box on the ground. The buildings began to shake violently as if an earthquake had happened. Lan Ky was hiding when she found herself no longer jumping on the buildings but getting closer and closer to the road surface. Both confusing and scary. What is it trying to do? Jong Si used his hand to lift something extremely large. Every time Jiang Tu raised the thing in his hand higher, the road surface got closer and closer to the group leader, who was jumping onto the roof to escape. It wasn't the street that was next to them, but the whole area was being flipped over, standing side by side with the rest of the city. The people at the other end of the city now saw a city upside down on their heads, and were screaming in panic. Even if they ran, they didn't know where they could hide. Stay in one place and ask your father to call your mother. In the school area, Hugh stuck her head out the window and wanted to take out her eyeballs, wash them out and bring them back. Is it true that the whole area is being turned upside down? But really, her view was now blocked by the whole city, like a rice paper broken in half and standing up. Jiang Tu looked at the perpendicular asphalt road surface in front of his eyes for a few seconds. Then, shot a shot, grabbed the group leader's head and jumped up to the top of the city that had been erected. Lan's pale skin was illuminated by the last rays of the day's sunlight. Jiang Tu laughed loudly. He held the group leader in front of him and asked, "Do you feel it now?" Jiang Tu looked at the group leader being beaten up by him in pain and couldn't help but feel satisfied. He happily sarcastically said, "You're right. Robots are difficult to control. But you're a conscious human being. So you must have a brain. Right?" He used his fingertips to squeeze the group leader's head, passing the virus into his brain, wanting to search for information there. Suddenly the image of Kiet Min and his wife appeared in Jiang Tu's mind. Through the group leader's memories, he learned that the group leader's parents died when he was very young. Kiet Min cruelly dissected his body for research, claiming to be reformed, but gradually made him no longer resemble a human. Jiang Tu was no longer angry. Like before, he just spoke coldly. Such a life is more meaningless than a zombie. Living is more painful than dying. Killing you is considered beneficial for you. As he spoke, he let go of his hand and let the group leader down. Unexpectedly, Lan Ky swung a black pole that had been there before and successfully grabbed the group leader. The girl did not expect that Jiang Tu could read memories. When I looked up, Jiang Tu had disappeared. Escaping the dark sky, Jiang Tu transformed back into a small child, quickly packing his things and hiding in the night. He quickly stuffed his things into his suitcase, muttering about how his uncontrollable emotions had caused such a big problem. He was sweating profusely. His transformation was handsome, but he was so scared. He was an honest zombie. Just as he was holding 2 suitcases and bowing to the human, a voice from behind made him jump. "Where do you want to go?" Jiang Tu didn't know who was calling him. He was scared and planned to knock the other person unconscious and then run away. His hands and feet were ready and an apology was on his lips. But that person put a piece of paper in front of him to block it. Tu Lang didn't know he was planning to attack her, so she just said calmly, "Deputy Jiang, there is your official announcement. From today, you are the Deputy General of the Extraordinary Academy." After giving the paper, Tu Lang turned around and left. Jiang Tu took the paper in his hand and glided to the group leader's seal, suddenly asking, "Didn't he say anything?" Tu Lang turned his head slightly, leaving only the words, "He said you are human. Try your best. In the future you can become the leader of the group and do whatever you want." The group leader lay on the treatment bed and informed Lan Ky of his decision to appoint Jiang Tu as the group's deputy. As expected, Lan Ky screamed loudly. Having been beaten until he still decided to use the name, "that zombie." He raised his eyes to the ceiling. Now it doesn't matter if that guy is a human or a ghost. Let alone a zombie with enough power to destroy Kiet-min. Try to remind him in a stern voice that when Zhang-Si loses control of his emotions, it is still very dangerous. But the group leader's face still showed a determined look. He had thought everything through and asked Lan Ky if everything was arranged. Lan Ky was still not very satisfied, but replied that everything was over. While recuperating, his determination was terrifying. This time, Dr. Kiet-min must be thoroughly dealt with. Far out at sea, the Academy's people have prepared many warships and thousands of heavy weapons. In another ruined city, a crowd of people looking up at the roof of a building heard a CU announce that Zhang-Si's zombie had been imprisoned by humans. He aggressively called on the zombies to fight to protect Jiangsu. Vong is our moral support. If we lose our place, what should we do? The zombies below heard that and called out. Together we will destroy humanity and rescue their king. A CU's 3 provocative writings are good at tricking people. But Aku knows well that he wants an excuse to rush out and kill people. Aku stood next to him and asked if he would stop him. Tiu Hak could only answer helplessly, besides the king, no one can stop him. On the prepared aircraft carrier, the recovered team leader is standing inside the control room. He announced that today they must capture the doctor at all costs. In general, everyone is busy. Hu and Jiang-tu are visiting another city, previewing enemy territory. But Hu is as excited as going on a trip. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out and the 56th Army reported that it was fully assembled and waiting for orders. The 56th Army gathered fully and bowed before Deputy General Jiang Daidai. Jiang-tu was bewildered, not understanding what was going on. Then saw the whole squad bowing to him with the new title of Deputy Team Leader Jiang-tu. We belong to Central Region 4. Battalion 56. From today we receive orders from Deputy Group Leader Jiang-tu. People really greet us. Why hasn't anyone told him that this battalion is not just a real army? There are still 120,000 people, armed to the teeth. There were also 3 long rows of tanks lined up. Jiang-tu excitedly ran over and whispered to a soldier. You'll do whatever I say, right? So if I tell you to die, will you really die? This person is a suicide soldier, so he doesn't know how to joke. The older brother seriously obeyed the order and pulled out a large grenade from his pocket, with the pin already pulled out, making Jiang-tu wave his hand violently in fear. Hey, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He immediately grabbed the grenade and threw it somewhere far away. It really exploded. Just making a joke made him sweat. Hu stood next to him and laughed. Suddenly at this moment, a man covered in metal sitting face down on the gun barrel of a tank spoke in a tone of disdain. Listening to the deputy leader as big as a cartwheel, it turned out to be just a useless guy. Jiang-tu and Hu looked up at the man, wondering who he was. That person and another person jumped from the tank to the ground, and couldn't help but grumble and curse that an important position was given to a skinny, bull-headed guy. He introduced himself as a member of the Stainless Steel Academy, ordered to coordinate with the Phai Fuang Academy to arrest Dr. Kiet-min. As soon as she heard about Stainless Steel Academy, Hu's body trembled like a leaf. It seemed like she really admired the students of this school and even knew their names. On the seaport, a commander of the Stainless Steel Academy was talking about Zhang-Si, who had just been assigned the position of deputy team leader for this important campaign. He put his hands on his hips and lifted his chin. I don't understand what people were thinking when they did that. His attitude was prominent. Lan Ky warned him to do his job well and not to look into their business. No outsiders has the right to evaluate the appointment of our deputy general students. This time, Extraordinary Academy will come in to arrest people, and Stainless Steel will be in charge of blocking the escape routes. Nodding to the plan, the commander on the other side still kept talking about not understanding the reason for an alien guarding a complicated city. The group leader glanced at the other guy and replied simply, because he could beat the crap out of him. Chief Kwang did not pay attention, thinking that gossiping was good, and did not bother arguing anymore. But as soon as Jiang-tu did something wrong, they would jump in and criticize. Underground, Dr. Kiet Min's side has also begun to act. Glasses smiled sinisterly and announced that the city had been surrounded. Just waiting for that, the red button is pressed down. Hundreds of ferocious zombies raced out as if they had a delicious piece of meat spread out. On the screen, my glasses caught the image of a strange zombie blending into the crowd from inside the cage. I don't know what the hell is going on. As for the zombies, they had just been released and the bullets had already flown to wipe them out. Team leader Bong sat on top of the zombies stacked on top of each other, speaking in a mocking tone. As weak as a snail. Looking like he didn't even bother to make a move. Jiang-tu and Hugh slowly approached the battlefield. He picked up the head of a zombie and asked if this was my kind. Hugh stood next to him and closed his eyes as if he hadn't heard anything. And that's strange about the article admitting that he's not human. Group leader Bong loomed in front of Jiang-tu, arrogantly telling him to go home. He didn't need to take care of this place. The chicken should sit on the children's tray. Hearing him look down on Jiang-tu like that, Hugh came closer and yelled at him, asking whoever was the chicken to shut up. However, group leader Bong just glanced. Is there a way to speak up here? The girl was scared and hid behind Jiang-tu. At this moment, a sound of footsteps came from far away, surprising everyone. That is ACU holding a saw in one hand and a gas tank in the other. Jiang-tu ignored the crowd and stepped forward to ask ACU. Why are you here? Looking closely at the image of ACU's stats, he laughed out loud. He had never seen a zombie with such high stats in all aspects. I must say, this one is the real king of the undead. He smiled sinisterly, using machines to control the undead king like a toy. Come on, I can't stand it anymore. It turned out that 2 hours ago, ACU gathered a group of zombies to destroy humans but waited for a long time. But not a single one dared to come. A single one appeared and thrust the gas tank into his hand. His mouth open. Whatever you want to do has nothing to do with us. After saying that, the zombie ran all the way home. And bye-bye. I don't dare disobey the Great King's orders. I'm going home. Bye-bye. Good luck. Oh, this guy. It's okay not to let the Great King know. He scolded. ACU cursed enough. Deciding that I alone could cut down all humans. Dang's neck was so loud. He suddenly felt something in the air. What a strange smell. So he opened his nostrils and sniffed. Inhaling the virus the scientists spread. That thing analyzed ACU's power and informed the glasses. And now, ACU is standing in front of everyone with a saw. His appearance made Hugh scared to death. First time seeing a zombie with such an interface. ACU swung the saw blade and slashed the gasoline tank in his hand, then gulped it down, causing drops of gasoline to scatter all over his body. What? Are you drinking gasoline? Her face showed a look of alarm and disgust. With a click, ACU started the chainsaw, swung it a few times, then raised her face to the sky and let out a deafening growl. It looked like he had just taken an energy drink and was about to rush into the crowd. His roar made Hugh unable to handle it and sat down to cover his ears, causing glass windows on buildings to shatter and fall to the ground. ACU's screams made the people there take a few steps back. But Jiang-tu still stood there motionless. The screams became more and more intense, causing even the large tanks to be unable to stand and fly backwards. Hugh fell to the ground and raised his head. Oh my god, what exactly is that? ACU shouted loudly from the opposite side. Damn humans come here to play with you. Among the group of people who were not blown away was group leader Bong, who grinned. Ha ha ha, finally an interesting person is here. I almost deafened your father. Let him show off. Jiang-tu held Hugh's hand before he could calm down and ran away. The girl was not satisfied and kept looking back. Why do we have to run? We have the same fighting power as our leader. So why should we be afraid? Jiang-tu still pulled her away. Just replied briefly that he couldn't beat her to death. Looking back at ACU with red eyes and mouth in a fighting state. Although Hugh was scared, He also did not want to lose face, for fear of being called a coward and running away. However, when she saw ACU open her mouth and laugh like she was having a fit, plus Jiang-tu's added words, "I'm serious. It's 100% immortal." She finally listened. Group leader Bong saw the other two running away and smirked. They were really trash and ran very fast. His subordinates are so powerful. You just let me handle this one alone. Approaching ACU, he showed off his martial arts prowess. But in less than 2 seconds, the group's deputy was kicked back while Bong was still boasting. "Remember to keep a little bit of your breath to keep me happy." The deputy commander kept flying until he hit a tank before stopping. The resounding thud made Bong immediately stop. Thinking he was mistaken, Bong turned back to take a look, not knowing when a dark shadow appeared in front of him, sticking to the wall of the tank. The group's deputy was foaming at the mouth, and tried to warn him but was unable to do so. When Bong turned around, he saw ACU's original face very close to him. "How do you want to die?" Jiang-tu and Hughes sighed, understanding that the two people were running away. They sniffed and sniffed as if they were exercising, staying away from the area where ACU was, to save Hughes' life. Silver shadows passed through the buildings so fast that they were thought to be rays of light, but turned out to be group leader Bong fighting ACU. Looking at this image with close-up glasses makes me excited. It's too strong. It was thought that the two were fighting back and forth, but in reality, group leader Bong was beaten by ACU and sent flying from one building to another. Angrily cursing, then rushed forward to try to pull off the gauntlet and punch him, but was brutally thrown back. ACU spun him around like crazy, then threw him onto the street. Han swung a kick, causing the group leader's face to twist to one side, and he flew to where the deputy leader was still lying foaming at the mouth. Walking over, he put one foot on group leader Bong's stomach to annoy him. ACU picked up the chainsaw and wanted to end the bad guy's life. Quickly, Bong reached out his hand to block, hoping that at any moment, the two sides struggled fiercely. Find yourself a good place to watch and observe the situation with Hugh. The girl's face turned pale. Group leader Bong was about to lose his grip on the pot. Suddenly he pushed the knife blade on his arm out to block ACU's electric saw blade. Still laughing. After all, he was the leader of the group. How could he lose so easily? Who would have thought that when he saw ACU's fierce face up close? He cried loudly like a child, feeling that his tricks were ineffective against this zombie. Jiang-tu and Hugh looked down with binoculars and were helpless. The crow's neck was so big that it had already broken its trunk. Seeing that ACU was about to cut the group leader in half, he smiled gleefully. All this group of doctors wanted was to feed the human academy. He was very happy to witness this scene. Jiang-tu's side was still not participating in the battle, just observing the battle from afar. Hugh felt that something was wrong and was afraid of that zombie. Kill all the people. But the subordinates are also very worried. Deputy General Jiang, what should we do? He also wanted to go down and save Bong. But if he did, he would be exposed. Turning his head to look at Hugh, Jiang-tu said, "You go down and beat him." The girl screamed like someone wanted to cut off her blood. Deputy General Jiang, don't you see how strong that monster is? Team leader Bong is not even an opponent. Do you want me to become its food? Who would have thought that Jiang-tu was extremely calm and told him to show his hand? He means the whole arm to mark the teeth. The pain is not painful but surprising. Hugh sat down on the ground and looked at her teeth, roaring. Do you want to control my brain like that, spy? Oh my god. Jiang-tu criticized Hugh for being bland and then suddenly had a strange expression. Keep your voice down. Be gentle. Group leader Bong was down there crying and begging miserably. Don't joke anymore. Don't kill me. ACU laughed ha without paying any attention. Suddenly there was a loud popping sound. The rock flew from nowhere to ACU's head. Behind him came the sound of a girl laughing. Hey, that red-haired guy with the saw. Who? ACU turned around to see who he was and only heard laughter. From the smoke, a pair of small feet walked out with an automatic gun even on the ground. Play with me. Hugh's teeth smiled happily. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her face appeared chapped, showing signs that she had been infected by the zombie virus. Because the virus spread through Zhang Si's mouth into Xiao Xiao's blood and spread everywhere. He also removed the old gene chain and changed the gene chain to the characteristic green color of zombies. That's why Hu's appearance looks like he wants to chew the head of a big zombie. ACU found it interesting. Group leader Bong was surprised. It was you from just now, right? Niu ACU looked at her with disdain. Who the hell are you to want to play with me? Understanding how to laugh and provoke. If you can dance martial arts. Can you dance martial arts? Finishing the sentence, she picked up the gun and discharged the entire magazine at ACU. Her mouth still sarcasm. You come here, I'll give it to you. Slurp bullets. Dozens of bullets flew following Hugh's burst of laughter. ACU gracefully dodged the bullets. Threw team leader Bong aside. Let him cower in fear and thought he was dead. Was killed by a zombie or died in the crossfire of the red-haired girl. Which one? Less bad, right? Hugh quickly rushed in front of ACU. The speed was so fast that he didn't have time to react. The group's deputy took this opportunity to rush to pull group leader Bong away. Avoiding the bulls and cows fighting each other. Flies and mosquitoes. Misunderstanding took a kick in the air. His feet arced beautifully. His mouth smiled and he used his teeth to open the pins on 2 grenades. Please enjoy the appetizers. She stuffed them straight into ACU's mouth and then flew into the distance. When Hugh landed, the grenade exploded, but the 2 bullets were still too light compared to an immortal zombie. ACU rushed out of the smoke laughing. Ha ha, your father didn't even stop. Waiting for him were dozens of bullets flying into his face with a popping sound. People in the shooting class are different. Whatever style of gun they want is what they want. After all, her daughter was 7, just use one hand. Understanding immediately changed the tape. Ready to shoot again. On top of the building. The soldier saw that terrifying scene and quietly asked, "What did your deputy chief do to her?" I edited her genes a bit. But it doesn't seem to have the effect he wanted. Jiang Tu then used his hands to do some trick. Continuing to adjust Hugh's genetic code. ACU was hit by the bullet. Not a single piece was punctured but still in pain. On the opposite side, he felt the genetic code being changed. A few more parts. Hugh shouted happily. C howled, feeling so comfortable while 2 of the stainless steel students stood on one side hugging each other. Tremble. One zombie is scary enough. Adding a girl acting like a zombie is even scarier. ACU angrily pointed the chainsaw at Hugh. That alone makes you want to hit me? She quickly jumped up and slammed the chainsaw down. Then used her foot to kick him so hard that the guy flew far away, leaving an extremely majestic popping sound. That blow was so powerful. ACU doubled over, rolling around a few times on the ground in a reversed position. Understanding quickly ran over and punched him, not allowing him to take a breath. The 2 people from the Stainless Steel Academy were still hugging each other in fear. She was clearly so strong. But she still appeared weak just now. Where did she get the needle of truth cannon? PNG Hugh carried it on her shoulder and prepared to pull the trigger. Suddenly Jiang Tu suddenly realized something was unusual. It turned out that ACU groaned and crawled to the wall of the house after being kicked into a corner. Seeing a tank of 95 gasoline that must have been 100 liters. Picking it up, CU gulped it down immediately like drinking a can of Red Bull. As soon as gasoline flowed into his body, ACU was refreshed and returned to fight with Hugh. Understanding and seeing that is equally enjoyable. Jump in. See 2 crazy people happily rushing into each other. The other 2 hug each other. All they can do is cry, "Help me. Oh my god. You crazy person." The gun made a loud noise and the bullet rushed towards ACU. In a moment of flight, the bullet was split in half. A was as quick as lightning to split the bullet in half, and also used a chainsaw to pass through Hugh's body. The girl was cut right in the middle of her stomach. Blood splattered. Her body fell to the side. Group leader Bong and the deputy chief cursed horribly, but apart from screaming, they couldn't do anything. The only hope of survival had been cut in half. Ah, just laugh happily. I have an immortal body. You can't kill me. Don't waste your effort. Up on the building, Jiang-tu tightly held his hand. At the same time, the wound on Hugh's abdomen closed immediately. The pieces of his body that had been cut returned intact. I see you, Tran. I was so scared that I was the only one who could be immortal in this matter. Understanding chuckled. Immortal. Sorry. Me too. Oh my god. Help me. Help me. There's a monster. The two men hugged each other and screamed, not knowing which side they should cheer for. Understanding and I see you face to face. The two remained silent, so the other two did not dare to utter a sound. They only glanced back and forth to observe the progress of the battle. She spoke provocatively first. Hee, let's go somewhere. The two people finally had enough to endure. Only perverts would laugh out loud when fighting to the death. So they couldn't wait any longer and immediately ran away. These people are all perverts. Help me. See-you looked at the girl in front of him, still wondering who was the real zombie. Looking up there, Jiang-tu observed the situation and did not expect that after the genetic modification, Hugh would be so strong and still burning with fire. However, the girl's bones were broken. Her muscles were torn apart. And zombie genes helped her continuously regenerate. But it was accompanied by a feeling of extreme pain. If I keep fighting, I definitely won't be able to stand it. I have to end it quickly. Jiang-tu was angry. See-you didn't listen to my orders and went out to cause trouble with people. Don't blame the leader for being so rude. Hugh laughed happily as if receiving orders from Jiang-tu. His whole body quickly blurred and appeared in front of his opponent. Before See-you could react, he received one blow and then another. He heard Hugh's harsh voice, knocking him back again. I don't know where Hugh pulled out a big gun, rushed down and hit him in the head. Wanting enlightenment, falling from the sky to the ground, exploding like fireworks. See-you was a bit scared at this moment, thinking that this girl definitely wouldn't forgive her that easily. But that's true. Before anything happened, Hugh dragged him from one side to another, beat him with all kinds of methods, leaving See-you lying on the ground like a piece of meat waiting to be minced. Seeing that Hugh understood and was still very interested, he was about to pick up the butt of the gun and knock on his head again. See-you painfully begged to surrender. Don't fight anymore. Don't fight anymore. I give up. I'm going home now. Please stop. I'm going home right away. This guy actually asked for surrender. Even Zhang Si couldn't make him beg like that. Looking at this situation, he was speechless. His strength was still there, but he lost all will to fight. Hugh lowered the gun and accepted See-you's surrender. Seeing that she had fallen for the trick, while not paying attention, See-you rushed forward and secretly attacked the side of Hugh's face, causing her to fly away and hit the two bottles of spirit that were still lingering there. Damn, See-you. Who taught you to be so arrogant? Jiang-tu stood up and was furious. But she could still believe that he was talking so much. Letting him beat him like that and lie down for 3 days and 3 nights was unbearable. Hugh forced her whole body to stand up. But 3 words were broken. I don't know. With 2 meat cushions supporting the back, it was able to help with some of the broken parts. But the two of you have been crying since the beginning. So let's just let it go. See-you heard the two of them say that and immediately added, it turns out that it was because of playing with toys that he became like that. Now that he has dispelled the medicine and beaten him, he is helpless. In his next life he should trust less about the living dead. Observing with close-up glasses is equally enjoyable. I didn't expect this thing to be so effective. In addition to being the best at fighting, it also knows how to play dirty and has top sneak attack skills. Jiang-tu shook his head helplessly. If he didn't go down to join the battle, a whole bunch of people would die. But on the other side, he was loudly typing on the keyboard, commanding See-you to kill everyone there. Hugh and the other two were forced into a dilemma and could only tremble in fear for See-you came to handle it. Suddenly on the screen of the glasses appeared someone, Jiang-tu, who had left the roof and was slowly walking in front of the other 3 people. It's okay. With your strength, no one can be your opponent. No matter how many people come. The glasses were so confident that they could control it that they didn't notice that a CU was trembling and speechless. Jiang-tu walked over, looked straight in the eyes and asked ACU, "Do you still remember who I am?" Jiang-tu's anger was still there, scaring the three people behind, hugging each other and screaming loudly. Today we really went through all kinds of surprises. The bespectacled guy didn't understand where the button was broken, but no matter how much he pressed a CU, he didn't budge, because his entire body was controlled by fear, and his tongue was stiff and he couldn't even say hello to his big brother. "I'm not telling you to stay home. Explain why you're here." Previously, a CU was also the leader of a gang of zombies. Suddenly one day, his subordinates reported that someone came and wanted a CU to be his subordinate. He went out to see who was talking nonsense, saw a guy who looked half human, half zombie and smiled disdainfully, looking as weak as a slug. He wanted to be my big brother. The other three people hugged each other in a corner, listening to the other two talking in an incomprehensible language. "I just know that guy peed in his pants or something. He drank gasoline so his pee was the same color as gasoline." Jiang-tu still stood there staring at a CU, so scared that he peed his pants. Even though he was being controlled, he was still afraid, looking like he was about to reach the end. Have you ever seen an undead zombie pee his pants? And that zombie still stood motionless, ignoring the person controlling him, typing loudly and angrily ordering me to rush up and beat him. Because standing in front of a CU now is a person who feels so familiar. Jiang-tu only asked one question. "Why are you here?" Immediately making a CU speechless and extremely scared, completely overcoming his bloodthirsty attitude from before. He just stopped being so speechless and unable to say a word because a white hand was clenched around his mouth. A long time ago, when he was the boss of a region, he saw an angry face of Jiang-tu. One time after the rubble, his junior called to ask about the situation but couldn't utter anything other than the words Jiang-tu smiled slyly and evilly and asked to see you why he didn't speak anymore. "Tell me, what qualifications do you have?" Jiang-tu emitted a strong murderous aura from his two black eye sockets, making a CU understand what a leader was. What a leader was, so scared that her eyes wanted to jump out. In front of this person, a CU's immortality and resilience were reduced to only a belt. That guy with the big, close-set eyes didn't understand why the corpse that looked like him, which he was controlling so well, stood motionless, staring ahead, his eyes still filled with tears as if he was about to cry. Kua kept shouting to make a cage or something. Afraid of the immortal being. There's no way to be afraid, because a CU is immortal. So now he remembers his pathetic appearance when Zhang Si came and tore him apart to make decorations for the tree. Each piece of his flesh hung suspended on a tree branch, swaying in the wind for hundreds of years before Zhang Si took it down and made him his junior. The nearsighted guy didn't know that a CU's mind was running through old memories. He was only worried about angrily pressing the control button and giving the order to rush to attack Jiang-tu. No, it meant the water broke its banks. A CU screamed in terror and resisted the big-headed guy's command, causing the control button to explode. Freed from control, a CU held his quail's testicles half alive and half dead. Without fighting. If he wanted to fight, he would fight himself. What the hell is this? Don't mention the guy with the big eyes and eyes looking at the zombie he's controlling and get the hell out of the way. Hugh's group and the 2 bottles of Bolin waiting to die were also speechless, not understanding what had just happened. Jiang-tu also doesn't understand why this reaction is so exaggerated. A CU didn't say a word to him and ran away. What the hell are you doing? The first time Y saw a zombie who could cut off his control and run away. No matter how many times you type the key, it has no effect. He was about to call another one to deal with the group when Kiet Min put his hand on his shoulder to stop him. I was about to ask why it stopped now. Kiet Min raised his head to look at the screen and replied simply, "They are here." The family Kiet Min mentioned was sitting inside a helicopter flapping its wings overhead. Locate where the scientists are planning to ask for some blood. After searching for a long time, the helicopter held its position in one place and reported to the group leaders that it had arrived. Lan Ky crossed his arms and asked the name sitting next to him with a stern look. Your brother Min is down here, right? Tiu Kai was beaten and his face was swollen. His whole body was wrapped in a military prison uniform. Only the eyes of the zombies shined green, steadily answering that. There were a total of 6 floors below. An area of 11.000 square meters. Lan Ky impatiently rushed over and tried to grab Tiu Kai's collar, which was more than 10.000 square meters. Find my menopause. At some point Mak Hung stood up, pulled out his long samurai sword and sniffed in disdain. In the face of absolute power, violence can solve all problems. After saying such an eloquent sentence, Mak Hung kicked his feet and rushed down majestically like the way a hero often appears. Ignore Lan Ky from above, you rude thing. Mak Hung shot down like a spaceship, leaving the launch pad at full speed, with the tip of his short sword spinning in a small circle. Soon his whole body turned into a fierce tornado, colliding directly with the ground below with a loud bang like a bomb. The navigation building where Drive Kiet Min was hiding exploded and shattered the roof. The surrounding soil and rocks also exploded, with dust due to the impact falling into the hole that Mak Hung had just created a few minutes ago. Mak Hung landed inside the building, put the sword in its sheath, raised his head to look at his beautifully rounded work like a worker digging a well, and simply said, "This is faster than going up the stairs." It's also effective, but the way he works is inconsistent. Lan Ky sees him working as if he's stupid, so he rushes in and is good at it. With a frown on her face, she turned to ask the man standing next to her as if he was about to jump. Hey, you guys don't use your brain no matter what you do. What if there's a trap below? The group leader stood at the helicopter door, nonchalantly repeating the same sentence as Mak Hung said earlier. In the face of absolute power, any plot would be useless. As soon as he finished speaking, he kicked off his momentum and flew into the atmosphere below, comfortably, as if he were walking with nature. He only left a sentence, "It's okay to give us the second line of defense." In this sugarcane grove, these gods' brains have nothing but power. Why did everyone from the soldier to the group leader rush headlong into the enemy? As soon as the army arrived, they dispersed to explore everywhere, checking every nook and cranny inside but did not see any suspicious people. They shined lights into each room, shouted and then reported to the anti-attack areas in turn. Mak Hung and the group leader wondered if Kiet Min and his group had already escaped when they received the news. But they acted very quickly, surrounding the entire escape route around this area for several kilometers. Not even a mouse could get through, so there was no place for Kiet Min and his group to hide. Lan Ky stood on the edge of the pit and stomped angrily, because the group of men who were not afraid of death rushed down to search, while she and Tu Lang had to stay on guard. Their strength is not inferior to that group of idiots, just because their lower ranks have to obey. That group of heads above the teeth under the lobes. I really hate it. Lan Ky crossed his arms and cursed for a long time without stopping. At this time, on the roof of a certain building, far away from the area that had just been swept, the bespectacled man and the staff were typing on the keyboard, telling Kiet Min that the academy's people had gone inside. Now was the time. Plan of proceeds. Mak Hung went inside and saw a very large glass bottle containing a solution standing in the middle of the building, with a piece of paper with a few neatly written words on its surface. He snatched the piece of paper down, thinking he had seen it. Wrong. It had written on it that there were extremely dangerous zombies. If you are a woman, open it. Ah no, the word ma has been crossed out. If you are a man, please open it. Why is it so tantalizing? Mak Hung put his arm around and ordered a subordinate to explode this thing. He wanted to know what these monsters were up to, but the group leader called him back. They're here to catch people. Who knows what the hell these crazy scientists are up to? What if they blow up the whole bunch? Seeing that the academy students were about to ignore the small gift, the supervisor angrily reported to Kiet Min and prepared a plan B for them. Kiet Min lightly pressed a red button in his hand, activating the bomb stuck below the giant glass vase, exploding with a deafening sound. The explosion blew away not only the glass vase but also all the surrounding solid objects. Only Mak Hung, whose body was covered in armor, dared to stand still, while the surrounding soldiers ran for their lives. The group leader squinted his eyes to see what had just exploded. Realizing that this bomb had low lethality, mainly emitting a cloud of colored smoke, Mak Hung snorted, brushing off some dust from his armor. Is this still worthy of being a trap? But the fun is just beginning. That bomb is just the beginning of what's inside the large container. Kiet Min wore a pink shirt on top, a white-blue shirt on top, and a pair of pink shorts underneath that had a cute strawberry pattern that didn't match at all. He opened his mouth and laughed heartily. Ha ha ha. Today humanity will perish. Kill all species. People including me. Mak Hung's group stood waiting for the smoke to dissipate to see what an extremely dangerous zombie king was like. However, both of their eyes widened in disbelief at what they saw before their eyes. The skinny forearm looked like a child. And it really was a child. It was only 1 meter tall and had a nipple in its mouth. Except for its blue-gray skin and red eyes, it looked like an elementary school child. Did I write it wrongly? King of the zombies or a child of the zombies? Mak Hung was about to curse when the group leader put his hand on his shoulder and reminded that the characters who appeared insignificant were all kept for nothing. Losing the name has the appearance of